Had an interesting meeting with the CPA last week. So he had seen some of our material, and he'd also just been following the AI CPA and the thought leadership and understanding that the CPA industry needs to evolve, right? So his question to me was, what do I look for in a good potential advisor partner? And I thought, interesting. I'd be happy to go through a couple bullet points with you. And when we finished our conversation, there's a lot of videos I've done in the past that are really focused on helping the advisors understand how to find a good CPA partner, what makes an ideal CPA partner, how to find them, how to contact them, how to go through meeting scripts with them. But I haven't done as many videos for CPAs to help them understand what actually makes a good advisor for them to partner with. Now, this CPA said, I've got 6 or 7 advisors that send me referrals. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that I'm going to form a deeper partnership with and for the two of us together to grow. Now, obviously, he's one of the CPAs that gets it, right? There is a trend of CPAs that are starting to see the writing on the wall and really understanding that the team-based planning is much better than the outdated referral model. So in this video, what I thought I would do is just share some of the advice that I gave him, like what to look for in an advisor, how I would rate it on a scale from 1 to 10, and then what to make sure you avoid in an advisor partnership. So if that sounds great and you're excited about that content, please do me a favor, just hit that thumbs up button for me right there. All right, the first one is past success. And this is kind of a double-edged sword. He said a lot of the advisors that are referring him business have successful practices, so they must be good, right? I said, well, maybe, but maybe they might be good at their trade, but they might not be a good partner for you. And here's the thing, you want an advisor that has enough success that they clearly have demonstrated a capability, like they're competent professionals, right? They have studied their craft, but too big of an advisor or too successful of an advisor likely means, and I've seen this happen dozens of times, that all the advisor is looking for is kind of a little edge to just improve their business, get them to the next level. But they don't really want to change. They just want something to add into their play. So that was the analogy I gave the CPA. I said, if you just want to be kind of a side story in the advisor's success, then a very successful advisor is a good partner. However, if you want to be kind of a co-host or a co-star with the advisor and the two of you to write this new chapter together, then you don't want somebody who has too big and too established of a machine. You want somebody who's competent, but is looking to evolve as a partnership. The next one is licenses, actually, so let me rate that. I'm gonna say a 5, okay? Because again, it's kind of a double-edged sword. 5 out of 10 in terms of importance. Licenses. This is a tricky one as well. You know, a lot of times people like to advisors at least, like to put out there, I'm a fiduciary, I have this license, I have that license. That honestly doesn't matter that much. I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot of dishonest fiduciaries. I've seen honest insurance agents, you know. So I don't think the designation or the license necessarily dictates whether or not somebody's has the right intentions or good work ethic or good communication. So is licenses important? I'd rather have somebody that's really good in one area than somebody who's like a jack of all trades, okay? So if they don't do insurance and they only manage money, that's okay. I'm gonna have them be on my team, my money manager, and I'm gonna find somebody else who only does the insurance or vice versa, okay? So on licenses, I'm gonna say a 5. I'm gonna say a 5 as well. Again, just think about the analogy of a basketball team. Would you rather have a starting lineup of everybody who's okay or good, like a good player for each position, and they can play all positions? Or would you rather have a team made up of somebody that's exceptional, but they only play that one role? I'd rather have a team that's exceptional and everybody playing their specific role. Company, I'm gonna say a 1. And you know, I know some advisors like to use this as part of their sales pitch, but the reality is it really doesn't matter that much what company somebody is with as an advisor. I mean, again, I've seen great advisors at their own independent companies or brokerages or firms. I've seen great advisors at some of the large firms and vice versa. So I'm gonna say a 1 on company. That's really not that relevant. in terms of making a good advisor partner. Location, this used to probably be important, 3-4 years ago? Maybe even 2 years ago to a degree. But today, I'm gonna say 2 out of 10 in terms of importance, because people are meeting so often virtual. There's so much more efficiency there. And worst case, you have a really large client that wants to sit down and shake hands, like jump on a plane. Not that big of a deal. All right, so those things are oftentimes what people unfortunately put at the top of the priority list when they're looking for or analyzing potential partners, and you can see they're not actually that important, right? So now let's talk about a couple other things. And this is what I told the CPA. I said, here are some of the things that I would say like must have. You know, the other page is like, they're important, but let's talk about them. These are a must have, or else it's the end of a potential relationship. The first one is an understanding of my industry. If I'm a CPA and I'm sitting down with a potential advisor, I want to know, how much do you understand about my industry? What do you know about tax deadlines? What do you know? What is it like to walk in my shoes? Do you understand what the difference is between value-based billing and charging hourly or charging by the return? Do you understand the direction the industry is going? Do you know how hard it is right now for me to find good staff members? Like, I want the advisor to have studied my industry. Team versus solo. Oh, so let me say this one. I'm gonna say 9. The only reason it's not 10 is because the advisors can learn. If you find somebody you really connect with, they can learn, they can study, they can read the articles, they can pay attention to the trends. All right, team versus solo. This is really important. This is a 10 for me. A lot of advisors are wired in a way and trained and reinforced in a way that encourages solo behavior. At the end of the day, a lot of us are hunters, and our family only eats at night if we bring home food, okay? That isn't the right encouragement of a team psychology. So they either have to be unique in terms of the way they're wired, or they have to relearn the importance of working together. If at the end of the day, they are focused on one thing, and that's getting more clients, they're not a good partner. They're not a good advisor for you to partner with. What they should be focused on is raising the perceived and actual value of the CPA in their best client's eyes. Whether or not that means they closed a case or managed more money, or whether or not they made a dollar off of a transaction or a relationship, or their involvement in a meeting, should not be first and foremost. It should be towards the bottom of the list. The first and most important thing that they need to understand is their role is to support the CPA and raise the CPA's perceived value and actual value to their best clients, because at the end of the day, that actually is the best win-win-win, right? It's a win for the CPA, obviously, because they're bringing more value to their best clients. It's a win to the client because they're getting a better experience. And if you do that as an advisor, and they do that consistently, they will end up winning from the partnership as well. Okay, so that's a 10 for me. Niche, it's a 5. And here's why. In some situations, it's like a 1, or it doesn't matter at all. And that is only because the CPA doesn't have a niche. Like if it's a CPA with a garden variety of clients, it doesn't matter whether or not the advisor has a niche. If it's a CPA that has a well-developed niche, microbreweries, yoga studios, whatever general contractors, like if you as a CPA has a really well-established niche, then absolutely you need to find an advisor that has that same niche, that knows the language, that fits in with that culture. So it's either not relevant at all or incredibly important, depending on your practice, Mr. and Mrs. CPA. Long-term thinking. This one is really important. I'm going to say 9. Most advisors were brought up in the industry in a way where they have to report their sales, report their earnings, report their GDC on a monthly, on a quarterly basis. That doesn't encourage long-term thinking. So an advisor can't be thinking, 3 months out, 6 months out. They need to be thinking 9 months out, 12 months out, 2 years out. They need to be willing to invest in the relationship, because the reality is CPAs tend to move a little bit slower. They tend to be a little bit more skeptic. I have a lot of CPAs tell me, we're trained professional skeptics, and they wear that like a little badge of honor. And I get it. There's a good reason for that. And likely that's a big part of the reason why you have your clients' trust. So move slowly. Don't let them rush you, Mr. and Mrs. CPA. And advisors watching, you need to understand that. Like, you need to be willing to invest in the long term. If you're just jumping from one transaction to the next transaction, the next transaction, go buy some leads. Like, stop trying to form strategic partnerships, because you got to be willing to invest in the relationship, and relationships take time. Okay, so long-term thinking is super important. And then the last one is communication. And I don't know, let's say a 10. I mean, it's a 9 or a 10. It's really important communication, because I was having this conversation earlier on a group training call. At the end of the day, you know what kills more deals than like the financing not coming through, or the numbers not adding up, or, you know, what kills more deals is the ego. The ego getting triggered, and poor communication resulting from that. Emails, phone calls, you know, poor communication, or fear. Fear, and the result of like pulling back, and somebody not being talented enough as a communicator to get to the root cause of that concern and to adequately address it. So communication at the end of the day is the thing that makes the difference between leading a client to a successful outcome versus losing control of the situation, the whole thing blowing up, and then now we're just name calling and blaming it on, pointing fingers and blaming it on other people. Okay, so communication is really important, and unfortunately you don't get to see communication unless you're willing to invest the time in the relationship, because it's like dating. Of course, everybody's beautiful on the first and second date, right? If you're terrible there, then you're just terrible altogether. If you can't pull it together for the first or second date, no way. But you got to go through a few conversations together. You got to really prove the communication value. So that's it. That's all I had planned to discuss with you. I thought it was an interesting conversation. The CPA said this was very, very helpful. Unfortunately, none of the 6 or 7 advisors that he has a referral relationship for passed this test, but he's very interested in this moving forward, as I know a lot of CPAs are right now, and I have a feeling after this tax season, they're going to be even more excited about it. So if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, again, just hit that thumbs up button. That lets the YouTube algorithms know that people enjoy the content, and actually more than that, it lets me know that people enjoy the content. And if you have any comments, like, do you agree, disagree, is there anything else you would add on the list? I would love to hear that. Go ahead and type into the chat box below, and I check that all the time, so I'd be happy to communicate back with you there. And last, if you are, regardless, a CPA or an advisor, and you really want help understanding how drastic and how fast the industries are shifting, and how to form strategic partnerships to kind of take advantage of those shifts, not only in the short term, but in the long term, we'd be more than happy to assist. We've trained over 1,100 advisors, we've trained over 600 accountants, and we'd be happy to give you some feedback as well. I'll be sure to include a link to our calendar in the description below. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it.